Welcome to Cyber JA, the place where we discuss all things cyber. In this video presentation, I will be looking at or sharing with you the best practices for information security governance. So, if you are tasked with developing governance within your organization as it relates to best practices for information security, then this is the right place to be, as I will share some very important points or tips that you can um, apply to implementing the appropriate governance structure for information security within your organization. So let us get right into it right now. So, 5 best practices for information security governance. And before we actually get into information security governance, let's first have an understanding of what information security governance is all about. Now, according to Information Systems Audit and Control Association, they defined information security governance as a subset of enterprise governance that provides strategic direction, ensures that objectives are achieved, manages risk appropriately, uses organizational resources responsibly, and monitors the success or failure of the enterprise security program. So that is how they define information security governance. First thing, as it relates to best practices for information security governance, is to take a comprehensive comprehensive approach to the strategy. Before we actually get into the details of that, let us first have an understanding of what information security governance is not, because often this is confused. So, information security governance should not be confused with IT management. So, let us get that clear, because IT management is primarily concerned with making tactical decisions to mitigate security risks. I want you to think of governance or as determining who is authorized and responsible for making these security related decisions. That's very important. It is not the implementation of the policy or policies, but rather the oversight and the creation of the program that governance looks at. It is not the enforcing of the policy that IT management is responsible for or is focused on, but rather the enactment of the security policy. So, in a nutshell, information security governance focuses on the strategic, not the tactical. All right, so with that said, let us move into the 5 best practices. And these are the top 5 best practices for information security governance. Now, taking a holistic or comprehensive approach to the strategy. So, before implementing your information security governance, it's very important that you take a very unified view of how security has an impact on your organization. A company wide survey can help to scope out what data needs to be protected. And this can also help to get early buy-in from stakeholders within the organizations. Now, there are some very important questions that you need to address in terms of taking this holistic approach as it relates to developing your information security governance. Questions such as, what are the risks? What data needs to be protected? What strategic policies should be created? what teams should be responsible for carrying out these policies. So those are some of the questions they need to bear in mind as it relates to this first step. So security strategy is also about aligning and connecting with business and IT objectives. So get input from all stakeholders across the organizations, from IT, from sales, from marketing, from operations, your legal departments, to understand their concerns and challenges, as well as to assess their skills and expertise. It's always good to have that involvement. When persons feel that they're a part of what is going on, and then they are more susceptible to participating and valuing what is happening within the organization. So it's always important to avoid that cookie cutter solution and working in silos, which may create more obstacles and fragmented disparate security solutions. Right? So a holistic approach or a comprehensive approach makes sure that the leadership, and this refers to the creators of information security governance, gain more levels of control and visibility. Second best practice is to create awareness and training throughout the organization. Right? Create awareness and training throughout the organization. Very importantly. And during this phase, you look at setting the information security governance, and then walking away can bring negative results, right? Such as a lack of adoption, misunderstanding of policies, roles and responsibilities, and security vulnerabilities. So continuous adherence to security governance requires awareness, education, and training for all involved in this process. And bear in mind that security is not just concern for IT, it's everyone's responsibility. And there are some questions that you need to bear in mind as it relates to creating that awareness. Are your employees using their own devices at work when they should not? Are they using company approved apps? What are their attitude toward handling the company's sensitive data? So frequent company-wide surveys, security seminars, and education on security best practices are ways to keep security in mind for all employees. And that is why it's important to create that awareness and training throughout your organization. Although this is developed by the board of directors, executive management, and steering committees, information security governance is for all employees in the organization. Very important. Governance creates policies and assign accountabilities, but each member is responsible for following the security standards. That's very important. All right, so awareness, training, and education of security best practices must be continued. It's a continued process. For example, an organization can send selected team members to security training conferences to learn the best industry techniques and then share those with their team members within each department. So with the knowledge they gain, these individuals can then are now able to champion this initiative within the organization. The third thing that we want to look at is monitor and measure. Very important. And as it relates to monitor and measure, then there are some questions that you need to bear in mind. What policies are working? Which policies are not working? Which terms or which teams or individuals are not following the security policies? Right? So information security governance requires constant assessment and measuring. It's not a one-off process. Measuring the performance on information security governance efforts makes sure that the objectives are being achieved and resources are managed appropriately. And in light of that, you want to think of how often do you test your security measures? How often do data breaches occur? What is the response time for incidents? Which security policies are working and which ones are not? For example, an organization might hold a mock data breach scenarios to see how well the teams hold up. The results can showcase what a company needs to work on and what they have nailed down. Fourth best practice, establish open communication between all stakeholders. And this is very important. It's vital that all stakeholders feel they can communicate directly with leadership. And also, we all know that working in silos risks obfuscating important communication relating to security governance. And in cases, for example, if a data breach occurs, do employees at all levels of the organization feel comfortable enough to letting the leadership know? Or will they attempt to shield the top from any negative news? So, open communication promotes trust while augmenting visibility throughout the organization. Right? So, to further enhance the engagement, then consider creating a steering committee comprised of, for example, your executive management and key teams can lead to review and then assess current security risks. Members might include, for example, leaders from the IT, your finance, marketing, PR, legal, you name it, whatever departments are within the organization. Right? So regular steering committee meetings can make sure that there's ongoing adherence to the security policies. For example, if a new security policy is created, then department leads who are part of the steering committee can make sure their teams implement the policies within the organization to form a strong governance structure. The fifth best practice is to promote agility and adaptability. And in this phase of developing your information security governance, you want to ask questions as to what's working, what's not working, and what can change. The digital landscape, as we are familiar with, is evolving rapidly. As new platforms impact the way we do business, therefore, your security governance, while establishing solid policies and guidelines, must be open to adoption, must be very flexible, must be very agile. An organization should monitor and measure the overall strength of the security policies as they develop that strong governance structure in the organization. I said before, ask the necessary question: what's working, what's not working, what can change. Right? So there we have our 5 best practices. So I must say that successful information security governance doesn't come overnight. It's a continuous process. It's a continuous process of learning, revising, and adapting. While every company may have its specific needs, securing their data is a common goal for all organizations. Emerging technologies and cyber threats will continue to evolve. Data breaches and security incidents will happen. The most important thing is having a structure in place and being prepared to deal with these situations from a governance perspective within the organization. So there we have it. The five best practices for information security governance. And let me quickly reiterate those for you. Right? So, number one, take a holistic approach. Two, create awareness and training throughout the organization. Three, monitor and measure. Four, establish open communication between our stakeholders. And five, promote agility and adaptability. So, see you in further presentations where I will dive into other best practices. So, keep in tune with CyberJA. Please subscribe, please like, please share. I see you in future presentations.